Am I the a-hole for refusing to return my $400 wedding dress like my fiance requested? Am I the a-hole for evicting him and his 13-year-old daughter? Am I the a-hole for buying my daughter a better tasting toothpaste? Am I the a-hole for refusing to return my $400 wedding dress like my fiance requested? I, female 27, have been with my fiance for 2 years. He's 32, divorced doctor, and lived in another town, but we moved in together 7 months ago and got engaged. Unlike my exes, he's a decent, level-headed guy, though he can be a bit overdramatic when it comes to financials. Growing up, I've always dreamed of what my wedding dress will look like. I went wedding dress shopping with friends, although my fiancé wanted to go with me like he always does, but of course he couldn't. I purchased a really nice wedding dress that I instantly fell in love with. It's perfect in every aspect and it only cost $400. That's a great deal since wedding dresses tend to be expensive here. When I got back and was so thrilled, my fiancé asked to see it and then asked how much it cost. When I told him, he was in dismay and started complaining, saying I wasted that much money on a colorless dress that I'll wear for just few hours and should have bought a $150 dress or less. I said no, wedding dresses are a huge deal to every bride. He argued about how weddings and everything that come with them are part of the laws our society keeps enforcing on us and that only smart brides save money instead of blowing it all on a dress. I replied that I didn't appreciate how he belittled my joy with the dress and he said he didn't think he is entering a marriage with a financially responsible woman, which is a huge problem, and demanded I fix my mistake and return the dress and get a cheaper one ASAP. I said that was ridiculous since I worked and paid for the dress with my money and also I care about the type of wedding dress I want to wear in my big day. And every bride want to look their best in their dream wedding dress. He obviously has no idea. He laughed at me asking if I was even listening to myself talking like a spoiled 16-year-old about her future dream wedding. He said I was wrong for not consulting him about the dress before buying it. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. Long story short, I refused to return it and he pitched a fit calling me irresponsible and childish for being okay with blowing that much money on a dress, even though we're doing well financially. But he was having none of it. He left after saying I have XYZ days to return the dress and we'll talk. He texted saying he doesn't understand how I'm choosing a dress over him and acting inconsiderate of his feelings since he's the one I'm marrying and not the goddamn dress. He hasn't talked to me since then and keeping redirecting my messages and calls. Am I the a-hole?
OP, look at this red flag for what it is. A major red flag. $400 on a wedding dress is an absolute steal. If he was that concerned about money then, why even have a wedding in the first place? They're expensive all around. Even if you have a small wedding, you'd still be spending a lot of money for just a few hours. Honestly, it's pretty manipulative and controlling how he's saying you're choosing a dress over him and telling you that you must consult him before spending your own money. That's not healthy. His mindset is not okay. This is the type of person he is. If this is how he acts when you've spent more than he deems necessary, then no, he's not a level-headed person. He's not just overdramatic with finances, it's toxic. You know if better than I, so maybe I'm being a bit over the top here, but please tread carefully OP. I'd hate for this to become financially emotionally abusive. NTA. He sounds utterly clueless on what things actually cost. I designed and made my own wedding dress, and just the materials alone cost $150, and it was only that little because I opted for the cheaper $16 yard synthetic material instead of the $30 yard real silk. This reminds me of my grandfather, who thought goods and services in the 2000s should cost the same as what they did in the 1960s, and who confiscated his wife's paycheck every payday, and then gave her an allowance of $20 a week for groceries to feed them. Grandma had to save the leftover pennies to afford to get her hair done. He cheaped out on everything, then complained about the inevitable shoddy quality. Does your fiancé do the same? Buy a $5,000 car, then spend $10,000 every year just keeping it running? Have you pointed out that his argument is double-edged, and that he is prioritizing his obsession with money over you and your control of your own cash? If you stay in this relationship, and I am not one saying you need to do 3 things before the wedding. 1. Joint financial planning and counseling. 2. Full financial disclosure of assets and liabilities. Is his behavior because he is sitting on a hidden pile of debt? 3. PRENUP. They can be used to protect debts as well as assets, so if you divorce, each party doesn't end up liable for the other's debt. Personally, I'd tell him to go pound sand and find someone who will appreciate his bride's delight in her dress and the great deal she. I hate to share this with you, but I feel I have to. It's long, I'm sorry. A close friend of mine married a control freak. I begged her not to, but she was so in love with him that she just couldn't see what everyone else could. Eventually, she couldn't even buy a coffee if we went for lunch, and in fact would lie to him about where she was if he called, as he would pitch a fit if he knew she had the audacity to go to a cafe in the first place. Her life became more and more isolated because of him, and our friendship really halted because of it. It went from finances to her whole life. I tried to keep in touch, etc., but he just kept her home. Fast forward 15 years and she's dead. He killed her by accident during an argument about new knives. She purchased ones he told her to buy were out of stock, so she paid a few quid more. He ended up stabbing her with the aforementioned knife. It was in my hand while we argued, and I accidentally lunged at her. I thought he was bad before marriage, but that piece of paper handed him a license to reveal the full extent of his personality. I get that this is an extreme outcome, as you are only talking about a wedding dress here. I just wanted to remind you how bad some people can be and to not give in. To him it's only a dress, to you it's financial freedom and you not letting anyone dictate to you. I mean, it's only 400 lol. In my marriage we definitely discuss finances, large purchases, and work together to pay bills, mortgage, etc., but as for the rest of it, he doesn't ask me and I don't ask him. As long as everything is paid for and a little bit put away for a rainy day, then I spend way too much on crap I don't need. I work hard for it, and if I want a £50 mascara then I'm gonna have it, damn it lol. Good luck.
Am I the a-hole for evicting him and his 13-year-old daughter? My BF, 34, of 3 years, just moved into my 32 female 3-bedroom home 5 months ago. This home has been in my family for the past 70 years. I have a 5-year-old son. He has a 13-year-old daughter. I made sure I moved all of my stuff out of my office and put it in the loft so she could have her own bedroom. I think it was about a month into him living here that his daughter wanted to move in with us full-time, as she doesn't have her own bedroom at her mom's. I was completely fine with this. Anyways, I started running into a lot of problems not even a week after she moved in full-time. She became really entitled and demanding. Like demanding that my son trade rooms with her because it has bigger closet, and pitched a huge fit when I said no. Or demanding we buy her expensive clothes or makeup because I'm a real estate agent and I have loads of money. Call me crazy, but I'm not about to drop $120 on a pair of ripped up jeans or drop $200 on 3 pieces of makeup. Her dad works, but his income is significantly less than mine, so she really just expected me to be the one who spoils her rotten. Or pushing her plate of food away and saying, "I'm not eating that, but you can cook me something else." I can deal with her childish tantrums and slamming doors, but she has now started to put holes in my walls, and my BF makes excuses, saying he used to do the same thing and she will grow out of it. She torments my son. If he says anything to her, she literally always responds with, "Oh, you're talking to me? Swap rooms with me and I will think about responding." Her dad literally never attempts to correct her behavior, and I'm told I'm being too harsh if I do. The tip of the mountain for me here was 2 weeks ago. There was a foul smelling coming from her room, so I asked her to clean it because you couldn't see the floor. She said, no, it's my room, so I don't see why you have any say on how I treat my personal space." Her father actually agreed with her. 3 days later, the smell had become so bad that I lost it. I told her to clean it or she was moving out. This was after I saw at least 6 used menstrual pads thrown throughout her room, as well as half-eaten food and moldy drink cups. She starts crying and saying, I'm treating her like she is Cinderella and I'm acting like an evil stepmom. I told my BF, either he handles it or they're both gone. He clearly didn't believe me because he told me that I needed to lighten the fuck up because his daughter is having a rough time transitioning and being away from her mom. I gave it a week. Nothing changed. I went and got an eviction notice drawn up and gave them 30 days to vacate my property and told him he's lucky I'm not suing for damages. He says I'm an AH for throwing away 3 years because I can't handle not having my own way. Am I the a-hole?
Oh hell no. He's a shite father for letting his daughter behave that way and then getting angry at you for putting your foot down on her greedy and disgusting behavior. Yeah, bye. This. OP, you're dodging a major bullet kicking them out. You do not need to live with he or his child causing damage to your home or treating you like a piggy bank. I have daughters a bit older than your stepdaughter. It would be a cold day in H number 11 before I let them treat our home, let alone someone else's home that way. Putting holes in walls out, and I'm not talking about nailing something on a wall. Having a room so messy that it stinks to high heaven and leaving used pads laying around is unacceptable. You want to let laundry pile up until you are ready to do it yourself? Fine. But that's it. As for buying her jeans and makeup, she can either earn the money by doing household chores or she can find a neighborhood job like babysitting or pet walking to earn spending money. But you do not owe a child $200 makeup. And you are not throwing the relationship away over her behavior. You are throwing the relationship away over her father's crappy parenting and for not holding her accountable for her actions. He has treated you, your home and your son with tremendous disrespect. That is why you are breaking up with him, and rightly so. NTA. She sounds like a monster, but in reality she really is just a hormonal teenager going through a hard transition. Seeking material goods, wanting to be spoiled isn't uncommon for kids in separation situations, and pushing boundaries is a teenage rite of passage. All of us were at least a little dickish as teens. That said, the behavior isn't supposed to go unchecked. It's the father's duty to acknowledge his daughter's emotions, but also intervene on her misbehavior. You don't say, oh well, lighten up. You talk to her about how she's feeling and discuss better coping mechanisms. Dad is failing here. Furthermore, she's a moody teen, and those are difficult to deal with. Who could ever blame you for not wanting to be responsible? I literally spent a few seconds staring at a blinking cursor because I don't know where to start. Moldy cups. Tormenting your son. Used menstrual pads. 13-year-old girls are terrible, but that's pushing it. The kicker for me, though, is her father's absolute refusal to back you up. Regardless of whether he agrees with you, he should be supporting you in front of his daughter. This whole thing is just ridiculous. I'm surprised you lasted as long as you did. NTA.
Am I the a-hole for buying my daughter a better tasting toothpaste? Okay, this is probably weird, but hear me out. My wife discovered 1 week ago that my daughter, 14 female, had not been brushing her teeth. She went completely crazy, calling my daughter insane, unhygienic, stupid, and germy. And my daughter started crying. She ran to me and I sat her down and waited for her to stop crying, then gently asked her what the issue was. She replied that she couldn't stand the taste and aftertaste of mint toothpaste. I said it was fine and bought her another one which was strawberry flavored. And she's happy now and brushing her teeth regularly. Now for the TA part, my wife is now constantly accusing me of babying a teenager, that she's too old for flavored toothpaste, and that she was emotionally manipulating me. I was livid and told her to stick to our son. He has always been her favorite, and to leave our daughter to me. She got very upset about that and won't talk to me or my daughter now, which is also making my daughter upset because she has severe anxiety. I don't want to apologize because there is no fault of mine, but I think I will because of my daughter. Am I the a-hole?
Lol, I also thought painful burning during and after was just normal, so much so that I kept using one toothpaste to the point that my mouth was peeling and I got a blood blister from one brand before I realized something was wrong with that one. They all hurt, so the bad reaction feeling didn't seem too weird. Arm & Hammer toothpaste apparently fucks a lot of people up. A discount store had some usually expensive brand that had strawberry mint and it didn't hurt at all, and I used to love Crest chocolate mint and vanilla mint, but they discontinued those. Cinnamon has always hurt too. I don't get why it's so hard to find fluoride toothpaste that isn't one of those two flavors. Squiggle is on my list of products to try from the last time I went looking for SLS free options. It sounds great. NTA. Your wife sounds like a piece of work for going off so harshly on your daughter. For all she knew, your daughter could have been going through something mentally, as mental health can impact a person's hygiene practices, and her berating wouldn't have done her any good. It may be extreme to say so, but isn't it a parent's job to think of these things in the first place? To notice signs of possible problems no matter how big or small. It's a good thing the problem was as minor as the toothpaste flavor. Also, there's nothing wrong with flavored toothpaste. Again, your wife is a piece of work. Does it clean her teeth? Is she brushing them again? Yes. So what's the problem? Sounds like wife just wants to be a tyrant and drag everyone into her misery. She got very upset about that and won't talk to me or my daughter. Wow. I didn't think it could get worse. It's one thing if she wants to ignore you, but to give her child the silent treatment. She is an emotionally abusive witch. I feel bad for you and your kids. Lose the wife and give your kids a healthier environment to live in. NTA. I have a compulsive skin picking disorder, and when I was growing up my mother would always tell me how gross disgusting it was and how terrible it looked and give me hell for not stopping. It didn't magically fix the issue, but it did help wreck my self-esteem. It wasn't until I was in college and heard a woman talking about her experiences that I learned it was a legitimate condition and something other people dealt with. I was so shocked and relieved I literally burst into tears. TLDR. Your wife's approach is not going to help your daughter. Yours is. If you apologize, you're saying your wife is correct in dismissing your daughter's experiences. She's 14, she doesn't need judgment at home, I'm sure she gets plenty of that in school. She needs support. Don't apologize. NTA. Your wife sounds like a control freak and needs therapy. It's just toothpaste, and if she was an adult she'd buy herself a better tasting toothpaste. Giving children choice and autonomy is important for their upbringing. To form good habits, we have to make those habits easier. Therefore, what you did was exactly what a parent should do. Caveat. We only got one side of the story and don't know whether you have a history of having zero backbone and are setting boundaries with your daughter in other ways, which your wife could very easily be fed up with. So take all of this advice with a grain of salt, because for you to be truly objective, you have to take an honest look at your behavior as a parent and as a partner. NTA. The parenting goal here is to get your daughter to regularly and consistently brush her teeth. You found a way to do that. Job done. You showed your child a route to self-care and independence. When she's old enough to be in charge of buying her own supplies, she now knows she can buy flavored toothpaste if that is what helps her take care of her body. What is your wife's end goal exactly? It can't have been to get your daughter to brush her teeth because you did that. And instead of being glad an important issue has been resolved, she's continuing to belittle and shame your kid. It sounds like she cares not about your daughter, but about having power over her. Your job as a parent is to teach your kids to be self-sufficient. Not to do whatever you say with blind obedience.